Chapter 31. Let the Games Begin. A colossal clap of thunder rang out across the square, shaking every tent, pole, and person. Sam looked toward the Crucible arena. Above it, a pair of huge holographic figures were locked in battle. A burst of energy shot from the hand of one of the gladiators, and the air shook once more. They were gone just as suddenly, leaving an excited buzz of voices in their wake, as people began moving toward the entrance of the volcano. The Crucible was about to begin. Sam turned back to the twins, but they had vanished. Brilliant. He threw his arms up in disgust. Oh, Joe and Veronique looked around. Fedor shook his head. They're gone, and we've got far more important things to worry about. FML. The match. Joe paled. I'd almost forgotten about it. But didn't you hear what they just said? Sam was upset that the mysterious pair had disappeared. Again. There's a prison, somewhere on this island, where they store people like frozen food. And what did Cassius mean when he said that they were grown in a lab? Load of rubbish. They're not all there, Fedor said. The screen's on, but the battery's fried. Veronique nodded. Does sound a little far-fetched to me, too. But you saw what she did in there, Sam pointed. They nodded. There's definitely something very strange about them, Joe said. But I don't think we're going to get any answers right now. And, as our giant companion has so painfully pointed out, we're about to be thrown to the lions. Prospect, for the record, I'm less than thrilled about. An hour later, the strange siblings were the furthest thing from Sam's mind. Standing high above the shimmering floor of the dormant volcano, the stone thieves leant against a railing, drinking in the vista of the packed Colosseum. Levy orbs raced around the arena, feeding large holoscreens above each of the stands. Sam studied other excited faces in the audience, altered by mods or emblazoned with the colours of their favourite cadre, beaming when the cameras passed, or waving and whooping wildly. Their rich banners, gigantic holographic mascots, and happy chatter brought the stadium to life. There's someone I want you to meet, Jenny shouted over the noise. Sam reluctantly joined the others in Mr. D'Angelo's private box, where he found Gen C talking to a tall man he didn't recognize. Gentlemen, Jenny interrupted them. The stranger had a firm, weather-beaten face, dark eyes, short hair, and day-old stubble. Sam noticed him sizing them up. Everything about the man, from the way he moved to the clothes he wore, seemed methodical, efficient. This is Caleb Roth, winner of last year's Crucible. Caleb, meet Sam, Fedor, Veronique, and She caught herself. Giuseppe. The man smiled when he caught the evil look Joe was giving Jenny. My pleasure. Your cadre is the Silent Knight? Sam saw Joe try not to wince when the man shook his hand. It is. And speak of the devil. He glanced over to 3 people who had just stepped into view at the rear of the room. Well, 2 people and a mountain. Basher. Jenny greeted the largest man Sam had ever seen. It's the little Scot. He grinned at her, his voice rich and smooth. And who are these poor wee souls? He asked, looking down at the gawping faces. Your latest victims? He lowered his voice. Whatever she tells you, always do the opposite. You'll live longer. Very funny. Basher is just jealous that I broke 2 of his field records. Ha! The Maori giant grunted, pretending to look over the gathering. He stretched, releasing a series of cracks from his spine that sounded more like small arms fire to Sam than the movement of muscle and fibre. Jenny turned to a pale man who stood beside the sulky giant. You already know Harper. Ghost winked. Hello again. I hope you've been practicing. And I'm Polly. The final member of the team stepped forward and introduced herself, though that's a nickname too. Why do they call you Polly? Sam asked. Because she can recite anything she's ever seen or heard, like a parrot. Basher tousled the woman's dyed hair, not because her hairdresser thinks she's a macaw. Polly's hair was an eclectic mixture of red, blue, and green streaks, swept up in a ponytail. Another eidetic memory. Joe marvelled. How wonderful. Indeed, Polly said. A gift. And a curse. How so? Fedor asked. Well, Sam noticed Polly's voice had taken on a more sombre tone. There are some things you'd rather forget. Tell me about it, Joe muttered. Aha! Fabulous. You've all met. Mr. D'Angelo made a timely appearance, striding over to clap Basher and Caleb on the back. Now, don't be too alarmed, he said, with his arms spread between these solid men. It's just going to be an exhibition match. And besides, you'll have IDA. Sam saw Jenny wince. We were still getting to that. Joe turned whiter than ghost. You're kidding. Them? You're expecting us to fight them? Basher looked down at Mr. D'Angelo. Wait, what? Now, let's all calm down. The silver-tongued man began. IDA? Sam whispered to Fedor when everyone began speaking at once. Inertia-dampening armor. Supposedly takes the sting out of big hits. Hits that big? Basher had shrugged off Mr. D'Angelo's arm and was pointing at Joe. Think it's too late to try jumping into our new bottomless pockets? Sam lamented. Fedor pursed his lips. Probably, but I like where your head's at. He glared at Mr. D'Angelo. It's almost as if he wants us to fail and get kicked out of the order. The quartermaster's store was in the competitors section of the arena. So this is where every rummager goes. Sam craned his neck over the counter, peering into the cavernous recesses of the storeroom, which appeared to lead off for miles in every direction. An army of 3D printers whirred away under the close supervision of technicians with clipboards and safety glasses. Can't believe we're missing the opening ceremony, Veronique pouted. From within the muffled recesses of the volcano, Sam could hear distant cheers and rapturous applause as the annual Crucible was ushered into existence, with what he could only imagine would be unparalleled pageantry. Really? Joe glared at her. You think that's the thing we should be upset about? He turned to Jenny. And when can I have my cruiser back? When I can be sure you're not going to vanish, never to be seen or heard from again. Give it to him, Veronique pleaded. Oh, here, you can have mine. Just promise you'll use it straight away. Sam laughed as she pretended to pat herself down. Ha ha ha. The boy's voice held no mirth whatsoever. Fedor slapped him on the back. Suck it up. Besides, you're small. I doubt Basher will even notice you out there. If he does, maybe you could dazzle him with some fun facts about seahorses. I hate you all, Joe muttered, a traitorous tear forming. Right then, who's next? The quartermaster appeared, bushy-moustached, bristling with crumbs. Oh, he looked at the four youngsters. I think you're in the wrong place. This is not the Curio Center. You want to go back down the hall and turn right. Jenny cut him off. We're here for a fitting. The man looked even more perplexed. But they're just children. He looked at Fedor and his brow knotted. Well, these three are. My, you are a beefy specimen, aren't you? Eat a lot of red meat, do we? Sam saw Fedor raise one eyebrow, but he said nothing. Salvador sent us, Jenny said. The man's moustache swished from side to side. For a fitting, you say? He looked over the unlikely quartet. Well, ours is not to reason why. Felix! A racing green robot with brushed aluminium trim whirred over. Sir? 3, 4. He looked at Fedor again. 4 IDA, please. What about rigor mortis sticks? Joe demanded. Ghost taught us how to use them, and we've done the drills. Seems only fair we have some. Jenny shrugged. Sure, 4 sets of those too. Sign for me, please. Veronique quickly amended the order. Coming right up. The man turned away, and then stopped, looking back at them. Better add some extra padding to that one's IDA. He cocked his head in Joe's direction. I think the big one's stealing his food. Felix floated over the counter. Stand apart, please, and spread your arms and legs. A series of green beams erupted from the metal body as it scanned them up and down, then from left to right. Names? Jenny supplied the information. The bracelets will be ready in 1 hour. Will you be requiring any mod pens or assigned shelves? Jenny shook her head. Could you send it all up to Mr. D'Angelo's suite, please? Certainly. Sam watched Felix whir over the counter and out of sight. So that's it. Joe looked forlorn. We're really going to do this? Were he to be honest, Sam was not relishing the thought of squaring up against Caleb Roth and his cadre one bit. Nor could he imagine were Veronique or Fedor. But if Joe also saw how petrified they were of what lay ahead, the boy would go to pieces. Look, we're a team, and whatever happens, we'll face it as a team. What doesn't kill you? Joe snorted, thinking back over the summer. Invariably scars, breaks bones, and leaves psychological trauma. How are your ribs, anyway? Mon Dieu. Veronique threw her hands up. Never mind half full, your glass has dropped, broken and shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces, all of which are now buried in your feet, fingers, and eyes. Find a corner and hide then. Live to run away another day. Or trust in us and yourself. Either way, we must do this. So try to accept it and let's go see what all the fuss is about. We? We, Joe groaned, stomping after Jenny, equally heavy of heart and foot. Maybe we could pop back out to Sergeant What's-His-Name's tent, Sam said to Fedor. See if he has a turtle mod and hook him up with a real shell. Fedor snorted. Actually, armor. The armadillo armor mod Dallas mentioned might not be a bad call. Carl tried it once and said absolutely nothing gets through that stuff. Back on the balcony, the roar of the crowd filling every corner and crevice of the Valsy volcano, Sam gawped in amazement as the crucible begun. Reuben and his colossal guardian, Allegoras, had been waiting in the box when they returned. Are you joining us to watch the matches? Joe had taken a real shine to the librarian over the summer and was glad of his company. I'd every intention of doing so. Reuben peered through the glass. But I didn't quite fully appreciate the enormity of all this, so, no, we'll be heading back. I just wanted to wish you good luck. Allegoras had not been impressed by this development. Despite Mr. D'Angelo's most earnest diplomatic charm, they were unable to sway the curator, and, wishing them well, he had left. Sam watched the shimmering floor of the arena begin to ripple and swirl, as billions upon billions of microscopic holobotic robots assembled to form the field of the first quest match. Every single holobot, Jenny shouted, is capable of not only connecting to other holobots, but also of emitting light. This means that when they are joined together, they are able to form physical holograms. Sam frowned. You mean you can touch them? Touch them, walk on them, jump on them, hide under them. She winked at Joe. They look like the real thing, but don't feel the same. So, they can be grass or a wall, but would still be metal. Exactly. Cold, hard metal. Sam imagined slamming into a wall of tiny metal robots at speed. Fedor was on the same page. IDA to the rescue. They are programmed to respond to certain movement, Jenny said. So there's some give. The water works in the same way. Beneath them, the volcano was a hive of inorganic activity, waves and columns of holobotic robots forming complex shapes and structures. That looks like a tree, Veronique pointed to the far corner of the arena. OMG! Joe perked up. So does that. It's like a deranged lava lamp, Sam said. There. Veronique indicated another pocket of activity. That could be a wing. A plane? Sam heard Fedor venture. Ooh, it's the jungle crash site, Jenny said. Tough one to start with. Who's up first? Joe squinted up at the closest holoscreen, and Sam followed his gaze. A pair of three-dimensional dials were whirring around, the sigils of the cadres an unrecognizable blur. Gradually, they slowed, before clicking to a stop. The Quiet Elves versus Pandora's Box. What strange names. Jenny winced. Don't let anyone hear you say that. Fans are very protective of their cadres, and wear their sigils proudly. Most have magnet ink tattoos of them. They can't all be as cool as the Stone Thieves. True story, Sam agreed. Same type of sigils Pip told us about. Joe nodded. Yep. Usually a crest or coat of arms. Jenny, is there a program with a list of cadres and their sigils? She handed him a glossy pamphlet. Back page. There's also bios and stats on all the teams. Should keep you quiet for a minute. Maybe two. They crowded around Joe, poring over the profiles. There's Pip. Veronique pointed excitedly. And Selena. I can't wait to see what mods they're going to be using. Not sure gecko fingers would be much use today, Fedor said. Unless you're trying to climb out in a hurry. He elbowed Joe and winked. God, don't forget tech, Sam added. If he uses that electric eel thing, it could get really messy. Ooh, Fire Lords. Joe's eyes widened. They sound scary. There's Dallas. I'm looking forward to seeing her again, too. Veronique snorted. You just want to go with her gopher. I might do. He tried to sound casual. And Ghost? Fedor flirted with the fringes of excitement. Bet he's lethal with that rigor mortis rapier of his. Joe's mood soured instantly. Well, we're probably going to find that out the hard way. I might just run straight at him. Get it over with. Sam was glad when Veronique tried to distract him. Hey, I wonder if the Stone Thieves had a sigil. We could get a magnet ink tattoo, and our parents would never know. Fedor and Sam beamed, nodding. Better yet, she continued, I bet you could get Anatoly to create eye tribes for all the cadres, and I may even do the voiceovers, if you ask nicely. There'll be a holographic top trumps on sale after the tournament, Jenny added from the periphery. They're pretty cool. I used to collect them. Geek! Sam coughed into his hand, and everyone laughed at Jenny's indignant pout. Icarus Bain was getting impatient. It's not a fashion show. Just put the gloves on and clap your hands together, and the suit will activate. The wet-look material of Miss Keller's suit came to life, and flowed down her arms and over her body. His sister admired herself in the mirror. She had never worn a cold suit before, and, if she had to be honest, the sleek black outfit looked delicious on her. Icarus Bain sighed the long, suffering sigh of a man who wished he was alone. I'm going without you. She wound her silky mane into a ponytail, and the hood of the suit formed around it, the goggles snapping into place. He turned to his two wards, stood waiting patiently. Ready? The boy and girl nodded. Right. Let's go see a man about a scroll. The Crucible final had been spectacular. The boys were slapping each other excitedly, jumping and cheering. Even Veronique had to admit the finale had made her grip the rail as she watched. The sun had long since slipped from the sky, and the Colosseum was bathed in a floodlit glow. With a puff of smoke, the final holobot disappeared. When everyone had made their way back to the box, Jenny held out Joe's cruiser. You'll be needing this. The boy took it. his smile fading. The door closed, the levity of the tournament remaining outside. On the table lay their IDA bracelets and a bundle of rigor mortis weapons. Sam looked at them, heart pounding. It all came down to this. The fate of their families now rested with them. With him. Don't let me down, Superblood. Mr. D'Angelo was oblivious to their somber mood. Gen C will show you down to the competitors area, where you can suit up, calm your nerves, and get ready to show everyone just what the stone thieves are made of. He did manage to detect the colour draining from Joe's face, and added a final assurance. Not literally, of course. The wall suddenly shimmered, and a huge man stumbled into the room. Allegoros Nazareth's face was badly swollen and bruised, his hair slick with blood and sweat. His legs gave way, and he fell over the refreshments table with a tremendous crash. Gen C pushed Joe aside and bent over the fallen man. He's dead. That's impossible, Sam blurted. He was just here. How could he be? Who could possibly? Joe's eyes widened. Reuben, he gasped. Cruiser in one hand, IDA bracelet in the other. The boy vanished before the librarian's name had left his lips.